So yeah, that's a huge part of what we're doing is we want people to think. I don't need anybody to think like me. Like I have no ego in that. I hope at some point anybody on the planet's going to disagree with me on something. That's okay. We should be able to do that. Let's just talk about why we disagree, and then I'm willing to change my mind if you got better evidence. And I'm also willing to still be your friend if you think something different, as long as you're not a jerk about it, right? So it's that kind of thing that we're after.
Welcome to the Full Fueled Podcast. Welcome to the Full Fueled Podcast.
Welcome to the podcast.
With your host, Matt Tack. With your host, Matt Tack.
Your host, Matt Tack.
Who are you?
I'm Dr. Alfred Alessi.
Dr. Alfred Alessi.
Dr. Alfred Alessi.
They know by now, bro. They know by now.
I'm going to set what the new normal looks like in my life.
You're not limited by your genetics.
You have a superpower that is lifting people up. Dude, you look
The
real.
only way we're going to get the word out is with you. Live full fueled. Live beyond limits, baby. Let's go.
All right, welcome back to Full Fueled. We're dialing in on season 2 here, man. It's good to be back.
It's good to be back.
How we doing, baby?
Super excited. I'm phenomenal.
Awesome. Well, we got an awesome guest today. I'm super excited to have Matt Beaudreau on the show. Matt is a keynote speaker, consultant, coach to organizations around the world. His clients have ranged from Wells Fargo, Honeywell, Lockheed Martin, to American Eagle, Cedars-Sinai, and the United States Air Force. Matt has a reputation as a provocative thought leader in educational and personal development practices. He's a 2-time featured TEDx speaker, and he was named Corporate Trainer of the Year at Stanford University, having spoken to over 250,000 people across the world. And now he's here to speak to us about what the future of education looks like and how he is building the foundation of what a strong young man looks like. Matt, thank you so much for coming on the show, brother.
Honor, man. Thank you both. Appreciate you guys.
Yes, sir. And he's rocking a killer beard, which is,
Hey, man.
that's something to be proud of.
Back at you, man. So I guess then let's go ahead and start here. I was 11 when I had to start shaving. How about you?
Wow. Dude, I was a late bloomer. I was honestly 18 before I got even some stuff.
Okay.
And then they came in like gangbusters.
Yeah. And you're 4'8" and you're 11 years old. It's not cool to have a Geraldo mustache. It doesn't. It's not awesome. So that's good. Good for you. Better to come late.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us, man. If you can, to start off, give our listeners a little background about you and kind of the Apogee Strong mission and kind of everything you're working on, man. Just, some highlights.
I'll try to just kind of stick with the highlights because there's so much going on. And so I'll just kind of go 30,000 foot and then we take it wherever you guys want to go with it. So, I had launched a number of campuses in California after working in kind of the conveyor belt model of education and seeing education from the inside out at Stanford, in the public schools, in private schools. And I decided that I needed something different for my kids. And so I had launched a few campuses in California underneath the Acton Academy umbrella. Huge fan of them and what they are doing. And I say them because I'm not affiliated with them anymore, but I want them to continue to rock and roll. Those campuses are still up and running. Simultaneously, I got to, as mentioned, kind of keynote. I was having 60, 70 keynotes a year, a lot of the time while building out these campuses. So I got to hear directly from leaders around the world of what they were wishing they saw from the young college grads that they weren't seeing. And so that was phenomenal, man. But as I was doing that, I got together with my buddy Tim Kennedy, who a lot of the listeners may know. And if you don't, highly recommend looking him up. He's one of the baddest dudes on the planet, but more importantly, he's one of the best humans on the planet. And we decided to start with a mentorship program for young men. That's where Apogee started, was getting some of the best men on the planet to pour into young men and giving them a roadmap to leadership. That quickly, and I mean quickly, blew up to mentorship programs for men, for women. We got young ladies on the way. We've got a couple hundred families that we bring through home education. We have 2 nonprofits. We have a payment processing system that all funnels into a scholarship program. And we are launching about 50 campuses of our own, K through 12 campuses for young men and young women, this coming fall, and another probably 100 in 2025. So we're not hurting for something to do.
Yeah, man, that's an awesome mission. And honestly, I'm a huge fan of it. I've been following it for a long time, kind of what you've been doing. And And
Thank you.
as well, I'm going to, get my kids into that kind of mind frame of what education is. And realistically, it's the way I guess I would describe it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like teaching kids how to think, not what to think. Correct? It's making free thinkers, or people who are independent thinkers.
That's the whole yeah, making people who can think, right? We talk a lot about thinking,
Yeah.
thinking outside of the box, right? We don't have people that are thinking inside the box. So I don't like, we're so far away from thinking outside of the box. Critical thinking, and all schools, and look, I understand it, schools will talk about building critical thinkers and lifelong learners. Sounds great. But it's the opposite of what school is designed to do. Both of those. It's not designed to build a lifelong learner, because a lifelong learner is going to come out and keep those factory settings of being curious and asking more questions than having answers. School is all about, no, what is the right answer here? I'll give you 4 of them to choose from. It's A, B, C, or D. Like it's not designed on purpose to build a lifelong learner, and it surely isn't designed to build a critical thinker. A critical thinker is somebody who thinks about their own thinking, who questions their own beliefs, who's brave enough to change their mind if they get better evidence on something, because again, they're asking really good questions. So yeah, that's a huge part of what we're doing, is we want people to think. I don't need anybody to think like me. Like I have no ego in that. I hope at some point, anybody on the planet is going to disagree with me on something. That's okay. We should be able to do that. Let's just talk about why we disagree, and then I'm willing to change my mind if you got better evidence. And I'm also willing to still be your friend if you think something different, as long as you're not a jerk about it, right? So it's that kind of thing that we're after. And we're just very clear that we think school is great for getting you good at school. I want people to understand how to live life. Those are not the same games. To me, that's one of the biggest travesties, is we've emotionally wrapped ourselves up in the religion of conveyor belt schooling, when it provably is not the same game as life. Why don't we get as close to a microcosm of life as we can if we're supposed to prepare our kids for life? To me, that just makes sense. So that's what we're after.
Yeah, and you said something there that I want to dial in on. You said on purpose, right? Schools are created to help you pass tests on purpose. What's the background there? Something to do with John D. Rockefeller, and kind of, can you share some of that? Because I don't know as much as you.
Yeah. Well, and that's so what I always tell people. It's I appreciate you asking that question. Because what I tell people is to go. There was a gentleman named John Taylor Gatto, Gatto. And most people have never read his stuff, and it's a travesty. He's one of the greatest educators that our country's ever seen. He's also an educational historian, and he'll do a much better job than I ever would at articulating. He passed away a few years ago, but he articulates in so many of his books the history of the conveyor belt schooling program that we're all used to, that we've all grown up in, that our parents grew up in. At this point, we have an entire generation that's grown up in that. But essentially, it came from a Prussian model. It was a Prussian military model where they were seeing their soldiers starting to question the generals on the battlefield. They were losing to Napoleon, and they're like, we need guys that are far more obedient than this. Well, shoot, what if we develop a system of behavioral management that we can start early, so that we have kids that we raise up so that when they're adults, they're not going to question authority. Right. Well, what does that behavioral management system look like? We still want them to be semi-effective as human beings, but we want to be able to control them as a population. That's really where the schooling system came from. Rockefeller and some other oligarchs kind of went, oh, I like that. We're building out this industrial revolution over here in the US. I need good workers. I don't want thinkers, but I want good workers. So he put in the equivalent of like $1.3 billion into that system. And we've adopted it wholeheartedly. It's been around for a little over 100 years. We don't know anybody, that's like 125 years old. So we don't know people that did it the old way. That's what it's been. So we have this religious attachment to, well, this is what education looks like. No, that's what schooling, the behavioral management program of schooling looks like. That's not what education looks like. It wasn't built for child development. And so that's why it's so hard for us to spread the message. I can tell everybody that, and they can go, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But their emotions are tied to, oh, that's crazy. But is my kid behind? Right? They still buy into it because, again, they're not thinking critically either. They've been impacted by it, and they don't even realize how much they've been impacted by it. So it's quite a battle.
Yeah,
That's
That's so good. Just diving into your educational experience and then just from Apogee overall, in terms of like from a tactical standpoint, as far as training, mentoring, what does that look like? What is the tactical kind of day to day things that mission, vision, probably core values that you have within Apogee?
tactical for which vertical in particular? I mean, I guess the tactics are really the same for all of them, but each vertical is designed to be able to stand alone as well as come together. So what I mean by that is we've got our young men's program, right? And so the young men have 12 months. Everybody's, can you give us a 6 week? That's the society we live in. What's the quick fix? What's the quick pill? Tim and I could make a lot of money if we were like 6 weeks and we'll get you the abs of your dreams and we could make a ton of money on that. That we have no desire for that. It's not sexy for us to be like, hey, we need at least 12 months. That turns a lot of people away. We don't care because we have a different mission. So it's 12. So the young men, it's 12 months, man. And it's 12 months of very specific books, some workouts. Yep, you bet. But there's projects and challenges every single month. And these are intentionally put together, not by Matt and Tim who go, oh, this would be cool if we did. Oh, this sounds. No, it's Matt and Tim and people who are experts in particular fields that go, hey, if somebody will do that, take on this project, this challenge, they're going to gain so much self-awareness around this, including maybe, I don't really like this field. That's okay. That's good to know too, but you're going to explore it and you're going to figure out your response to it. And you're going to do that. And then you've got mentors who are with you the entire way, some of the best men on the planet, right? So you're going to do that over the course of 12 months. And you're going to put together this journey, this digital portfolio that shows, hey, I actually dove into leadership. Here's what I did, but here's all that I've taken away. And oh, by the way, I've also built out this network. And so I have at least an understanding of what I want to do next versus what does society say I have to do next, right? And so I guess that's really a microcosm for all of it because it's the same thing for the men's program. It's the same thing for the women's program. As we develop the young ladies, it's the same thing. So the tactics become, you're going to do a lot of things. You're going to have a lot of reflective conversations, a bunch. You're not going to be told what to do. You're going to be told some options of things to do based on people who are ninjas in those fields. And then we're going to walk you through the reflection of if you did it, what did you learn? What happened? Okay, then what? What do you think about that? And what was your experience? My experience doing this might be different than Alfred's, might be different than Matt's, right? And so it's a community of people who are doing, it's acta non verba. We're doing, but then we come together and reflect upon it over and over and over and over again. Create more than we consume, doing it in the community. So it's a lot.
It is a lot. And like you said, it probably turns people off because they're not ready for that, right? That's what it
turns almost everybody away. And we lose a lot of people within the program too, because they go, ooh, that's more than I thought I needed to do. You bet. You bet it is 100%. And we lose people in very specific months too, man. It's so fascinating to watch, like such an interesting experience. So like we lose most men in our men's program. We will lose them month 5. Month 5 is the intentionality in marriage month. Again, you can't fix your marriage even just in a month if you've done like you've had all like we're not like we've got a year's worth of material that is really 20 years worth of material within a year. And then you're going to be invited to come back through it and continue like this. If you can push through the whole month, you stay for free in perpetuity for free. But people still can't push through so much because of the work and because of what it actually does to them. They're like, I want to go back to playing pretend. Right. And the marriage month is one of those intense months, man, because the wives go, bullshit. I don't believe you. Where was this guy? I haven't seen this guy before. Now I'm seeing this guy show up. I don't believe you. And they're like, I don't believe me either. Right. And they run out the door. But the guys that push through every month, I mean, I got a message this morning from my wife. My life is different. My marriage is different. Our family's different. Thank you. I'm like, don't thank me. Thank him.
Yeah. And that's that intentional discomfort, right? We talk about that all the time. You know, we're a little bit more fitness and health focused podcast, but it ties in line with it, because it's like if you get yourself into that discomfort, that's where growth occurs, right? Getting in a cold plunge, working out, you know, getting yourself out of breath, all that stuff.
Yeah, I got a quick question too, just on the offset of that, just on the tactical approach. It's something I'm doing with my kids right now, because the school system doesn't teach financial management at a really young age. And so one of the things actually, Alfred actually brought up to me, and we're going to be instilling as soon as the school year starts when my girls come back from Michigan, is we're going to make them pay rent. We're going to make them pay rent every month. We're going to take a little allocation of rent of things that they do. But what I try to do is empower them to do, obviously, things that are going to expand their mind, and then they get paid for those things. If they want to choose, which I got to give them the choice to buy liabilities, but there's this process of like delayed gratification and just all those things. Do you, in Apogee, is a financial management a key component of that too, of teaching kids?
It's a huge component. So there's a couple different avenues on this too. I like what you're saying. I like what you're doing, and we will, from a parental standpoint. I like that when parents take the tactical standpoint. I don't ever want a parent to miss out on the simplicity also, though, of increasing their education by increasing your own and bringing them with you, right? So my kids have financial things that they'll go. So my daughters bought their first horses. They bought their first horses when they were 9 and 7. Right, they're 13 and 11 now. My 13-year-old works probably close to 40 hours a week right now. She has a 13-year-old in a couple of different jobs and businesses that she has. So they bought their first horses. That's huge. That's fantastic. I love that. And there's the experience that they have there and the learning they take away from that. But I also don't discount the fact that a big part of that is we operate as a family. Over the last few years, we have transitioned into the 1041 tax system as opposed to the 1040. Most people don't understand that there's 2 tax systems in this country. Almost nobody operates in the 1041 system, but it's everybody can. And you hear about it and you're like, oh, okay, well, oh, is that probably what Bill Gates and Warren Buffett? Yes, it is what they do, but you don't have to be wealthy like that in order to operate there. You do have to have a business. There's certain structures in there that you need to have in place, right? But as we transition into that as an organization or as a family, I bring my kids along with. They don't have to understand all of it, but I just show them what we are doing, right? I don't actually even have to do anything to them in that. I just bring them along with our own journey in it and keep them apprised, right? Like that is some of the most of, that's how they learned to speak English. They were in our house and we spoke English, so they started speaking English, right? Like that is how real education actually works. So also bringing them along is just as impactful and as effective as doing something to or having them do something, if that makes sense, right? So I don't ever want that to be discounted. And so that said, that whole 1041 system is very much in our men's program, very much in our women's program. On the younger side, everybody, whether they're on our campus or they're in our mentorship programs, they're starting a business or taking a business into perpetuity. They're meeting with financial experts, financial ninjas. We have a class economy in our K through 12 campuses. So they get paid for doing work and they do pay rent to utilize, to use certain things. And so yes, again, microcosm of the real world, and there's no such thing as perfect. There's no panacea, but they need to be exposed to it.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of like, like you were talking about in the conveyor belt system, you're almost like outsourcing your kids' education when realistically, as the parent, you are so responsible for that,
Not almost.
You totally are.
It's very much are, yeah.
And so then what they're not learning, you kind of can't control either at that point.
That's the hardest thing, man. And there's so many good people who are teachers and educators in the conveyor belt system. I support them. There's good humans. I was talking to one this, I get messages on a daily basis, 7 days a week. Good humans in the system. I wish we weren't I wish this, but we can't control that. I get it, man. 100%. And I support you 100%. There are good humans who are sending their kids to public schools and who are coming upon these realizations and like, but we're now in this financial, situation, or I'm a single parent and I like this. I get it, man. And I'm not telling you you're a bad parent. I get it. I understand. But understand, now that you get it, now what are you going to do? How are you going to try to combat that? because it is inherently an outsourcing. You know, G.K. Chesterton said something to the effect of education not being a series of subjects. It is a transfer of a way of life. I love that. It's spot on. So the question then becomes, who is getting to transfer their way of life to your children if it's not you? Anybody that you are allowing to pour into them is transferring their way of life.
Right.
I am going to make sure that anybody that gets to transfer their way of life to my kids has a transfer that I've already pre-frickin' approved. And that's not called sheltering. That's called parenting.
Yeah.
So thankfully the powers that be will always help us for people that are paying attention. So we got over 5 million people that are home educating now in this country. That's never been that big since schooling was made compulsory. Right? It's never been that big. But people started to see a little bit during the COVID. People are starting to pay attention a little bit to some of the agendas that are creeping in, and they're like, okay, we're out of here, right? So like that always helps. But that said, it is a religion. It's a huge religion. It's a huge monopoly in this country. It's not going to change from the inside for the better. Sorry. I just, if I thought that I could impact real, actual positive change there, I'd have stayed in it. So our goal is to build the alternative. That's really where, in my head, the only chance we get of making things switch over here is to build an alternative that is so undeniable that it's a very clear choice, and then somebody else has to switch. Right now, the problem is accessibility. Any kind of privatized educational opportunity, it's got to be paid for. That's why we have the payment processing system, our multiple foundations, the 501c3s that all go towards it. Tim and I don't take any freaking money from that. We don't have a staff around that. It all goes to scholarships. It all goes to help families. It's all, you know, and they're in their early stages, but ultimately it's that. And if you think about like CrossFit, like it, don't care. You know what it is. You have an idea of how it operates, right? And you can't deny that it became big enough to where you had a whole lot of people that started to like that sort of functional training, and right. And what a lot of people move that way. But then what happened is your big box gyms, your Bally's and your, you know, 24-hour and your Gold's gyms, they started offering like functional fitness. They started changing. They're like, oh, we should offer something like this too, because everybody, cool. Well, why don't we do the same thing? And we'll see if the conveyor belt education system tries to at least sort of start to catch up. But even if they don't, because we know who controls it and we know that the agenda is not for the people, I can say that confidently, it's not for the people, then okay, we've made our alternative accessible to people. Whereas that's a big thing that we get all the time. But I don't have to pay for public. I mean, you do with your taxes and all that. I get it, but you know, I don't have to pay for it. That's one of the biggest things we have. And that's so crazy to me. It's like, man, I get what you're saying. I get it. Also, those are your children. Like if you send them to a restaurant, you're like, dude, I planned on sending them to this restaurant for 2 meals a day for 18 years. I planned on that, and I didn't plan on having to pay for that food. But you find out that the food, every time they eat it, it's just a little bit of poison. Like, what parent's not going to be like, F that, I will figure out a way to feed you all 3 meals so that you're not getting poisoned. That's what's happening.
Yeah, I think I want to highlight Apogee a little bit further, even beyond this, because as we see the transition, and I've seen this like firsthand, and this is the only thing. So I do choose to put my kids, they're in public schools. They're actually in a language immersion program. So they're getting taught Spanish at the same time. We want to be, our goal is to be a Spanish speaking household. And so my wife and I are learning it and progressing with our children. But this is the thing. If we had the choice, my wife works, I work, is the parallel of like people taking their kids out of the system, but then being lazy about it. I've seen this, like I've seen this approach where I'm going to pull them out of the system, but then I'm not going to do anything about it. And they're so like Apogee gives the structure around it that says, hey, look, these are the principles and the structures of how these kids should be guided, right? I've just seen so many kids just fall behind because they don't have the structure of the system. Oh, I'll teach them the stuff, but you're teaching them the same things of the conveyor belt system. So that's just to highlight that a little bit more.
I'm with you 100% on that. There's so many parents, and by the way, there's so many parents that send their kids to school and then they're still lazy on that side. Like there's just there's no room for lazy people if you're going to talk about freedom. Like there's just not. Freedom and sovereignty demands that sort of intentionality. It just does. And so, yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, tell me about this. So transitioning just a touch, because I'm really interested in this. So you're how many times have you talked on TEDx now?
I've done 2 TEDx's. I won't ever work. I've done 2. I've put on some. I won't ever work with them again.
Oh no. Okay.
What happened there?
The culture there of the you know, I don't like using the term because it's over, but the whole woke culture sort of deal. So we put a TEDx on. Well, the second TEDx I gave, the organizers were forced to make us all go virtual because of COVID, which I wasn't a huge fan of the forcing around that. I wanted the option on that, and I understand what they were. So I get it. I didn't hold that necessarily against anybody. That bummed me out. But then when COVID was no longer theoretically an issue, I hosted a TEDx event, and I had a couple of friends who came to present. One of those being Michaela Peterson, Jordan Peterson's daughter. She came and hung out with us for a few days. I worked on her speech with her for a long time to make sure that it followed the TED guidelines, that it didn't come across as anything prescriptive or anti-scientific or whatever. She did a great job, man. She knocked it out of the park. You guys ever seen it? You haven't. Know why? TED won't post it, for no other reason other than it's Jordan's daughter. And so to me that just spoke volumes. So I'm all set.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense, man. That's unfortunate for sure. I had a question too, kind of going back to what we were talking about, and this is something I just wanted to ask you because it fascinates me, the way that children's minds can absorb things. So I have 2 boys, they're 3, they're twins, and I believe that they're brilliant. They're so smart beyond kids that I try not to compare, but kids their age or even kids older. And I'm like, okay, why? Or like, what's, the I guess the functioning of a child's brain. And I heard you say this on a podcast. It's kind of how I found out about you and how we kind of connected, but the amount of knowledge that a child can learn in a certain time frame is like way less than what we give them, right? So like you said something, I believe it was like between grade 1 to grade 12, all that information that kids learn can really be learned in what, like 5 years or something like that. It's like
The academic part of that. I've seen kids do the entire K through 12 curriculum. If we go forward with the assumption and the pretending that life works in subjects, let's take those subjects and put those together. I've seen kids rock out the entire thing in 3 years.
Yeah. And so it's like the concept is that it's like, no, you're in first grade. You get to learn first grade stuff. Wait till second grade and we'll teach you second grade stuff. But realistically, that kid can learn at a rate that is so much, yeah.
100%. And here's the deal too. So we have to deconstruct all that. So what grade are you guys in? Isn't that a weird question?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Isn't that a weird question? So isn't it like, Matt, how old are you? Can I ask?
38.
38.
39. I just turned 39. Sorry. My birthday.
All right. So 39. Happy belated birthday.
Birthday.
So 39. Do you read at a 39-year-old level?
I think.
I don't know.
Weird. But dude, isn't that aren't those weird questions? Don't those seem strange?
Yeah.
But we ask our kids that and it doesn't seem strange. Why? They're humans just like we are. It doesn't seem strange because of our indoctrination and our training to believe that's a valid question for a young person. What grade are you in? What grade level do you read at? We pretend those are real things for them, and then magically it becomes an unreal thing as we get older. It's not magically becoming unreal. It's always been unreal.
Yeah.
None of that is real. It's our religious training around that. So the point is, they're humans and they're learning. So there's developmental stages, but there's no freaking grades. There's no ahead and behind, and there's developmental stages. So if we stay close to what I call the factory settings, you'll see, I have no doubt that your 3-year-olds are geniuses. And you know why? It's not because you're awesome. From everything I know of you and from this conversation, I think we could all be very good friends. I think you guys are great. Truly, I think you guys are awesome. But it's because people are naturally geniuses when we don't mess with them. John Taylor Gatto, who I mentioned earlier, he said something before he passed. He says, I've learned in my years in education that genius is as common as dirt. And that's true. I believe the exact same thing. Where we miss the boat as a population is by messing with those factory settings. We mess with those factory settings from a medical standpoint as soon as like we're just hammering them, and then we just do all this crazy crap and we distract our kids and we send them to indoctrination centers versus like letting the genius come through, and we get our own fears wrapped up in that. We are the ones who chip away, and it's not even chipping away. It's really, this thing functions really, really well. And if I just start loading it up with all kinds of apps that don't do anything good, and it's just taking up a bunch of space, then this phone doesn't work as well anymore. Keep the factory settings and it works the way it's supposed to work. That's true with our kids too.
Yeah, and it's like that curiosity almost gets, I think you're the one who said that. It's like the curiosity gets like slowly pounded out of them as they go further through the school system.
It gets trained out of them. 100% it does. Yep.
How much do you believe in this too? Because we tend to dummy down our approach to it in their extended learning. And so I like, this has been on my mind a lot lately too, of Jim Quick is a big guy that I read because I just want advanced learning and I want to be able to process information faster, right, at a faster rate. And so I've been able to read books a lot faster, and I tend to double down on books now too. Napoleon Hill is a big, just a big thinker that I just Outwitting the Devil and Think and Grow Rich. But those books we dummy down what we read to our kids even at a young age. Like they actually can comprehend a lot more, but we want to dummy down like some of the books. Not that they can't read, childish or cartoonish books, but dumbing down that approach of like what that looks like. Is that am I wrong on that? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, of course we dumb down what they're capable. So here's something that people don't like to understand. The literacy rates in our country, not just the literacy rate in terms of like how many people could read, but also the quality of the things that they were reading and writing. The literacy rates were better before school was compulsory. There was no school there, but literacy rates were still better. Literacy rates have continued to decline as schooling has become more and more compulsory, intentional, controlled. Right now, there's a multitude of reasons for it. It's not just school, but culture plays a role in that too. So it's not only that we dumb down things, but we do things to make reading unattractive. We do a number of things to make reading unattractive. Now we'll do it as parents too, right? We'll distract our kids like, oh, well, we got the video games over here. They've got cell phones over here. They've got the iPad over here. And I'm not villainizing screens, but the reality is we put all these distractions there, and the books don't have the same allure, and we don't read to them. We don't get excited about it. We're not reading books. We're at the table. We're doing the shit with our phones. So we're actually killing the love of reading from a parental standpoint too, because we offer so many distractions. Some of my proudest moments, and again, I'm far from perfect as a father. I'm far from perfect as a husband, far from perfect. So but I am also realistic about some of the things that I know I'm proud of in this house. I can go upstairs at any given moment, and chances are, if they're not doing their chores or their workouts or working or whatever that looks like, and there's just downtime, I'll find my 13-year-old, my 11-year-old, my 8-year-old, a lot of times all three of them, sitting on a porch, nose in a book. Why is that? We've made reading exciting. We've made it fun. As a family, we've made it fun. We've shown that it's important. We have great conversations around the books. We show them how they're processing through this material is actually helping them in the real world. Like, we continue to show reading to be the unlock that it really is. We've always done that with them. So they're excited about it. And coincidentally, my 13-year-old has also written 2 books that are, like 300 and something pages long. And we didn't go, hey, you got homework today, you're going to write. That was on her own accord, because we made reading and writing a fun, explorative kind of thing, right? So then in schools too, a big part of it is, everybody's got to learn to read. I agreed. We say the right things. I agree, everybody's got to learn to read. So when they're 5, let's start with sight words. So you want to kill the love of reading. That's actually what you're designed to do. So the way schooling does it is designed to kill the love of reading. We go sight words versus phonics. We start early and often and hammer it. And we tell parents that your kid doesn't know how to read this. He's 6. He's behind. I didn't teach any of my children to read. Like, you heard what I just said about them reading books voraciously, writing books. I did not teach any of them to read. But they all read phenomenally well, voraciously, have great discussions about it. They all started at different times. My girls tend to start that faster. My oldest was 4, my middle was 5, my son was 7. And by the way, if I was to believe in the grade level fairy, I believe in the grade level fairy as much as I believe in the tooth fairy. If I was to believe in the grade level fairy, my son went from, I just figured out this reading thing at 7 to now he's 8.5, and he's reading quote unquote 5th and 6th grade level books that fast, because he loves to read.
And it's also that as the age that like worked for his brain, right? And I've heard you talk about this before as well. It's like, kids are taught all this stuff almost too early sometimes. It's like they're forced to try to read, and then you're like, oh, he can't read yet. It's like, dude, he's 4. His brain's just not there yet. He needs to learn. You talk about like learning play and learning like real life things, like, oh, you ran off a bridge and you fell and got hurt. Like, that's, that's life, right? Yeah.
Realistically, the academics, we don't need to touch most of it until at least 8. Anything that's abstract, we shouldn't even be talking about it until 12-ish. And those are blanket statements. Every kid's a little different, but developmentally, that's how we are designed. I didn't make up the design. So people get pissed all the time when I say stuff. That's the design. Take it up with whoever you want to take that up with. I didn't design it.
And so double down on that a little bit. If, say you don't want your kid to go into the, traditional school system where they're in the grades, and you're like, hey, I want to kind of subscribe to this. If you're not starting academic till 8, what does it look like for kids until then? It's a lot of free play and unschooling kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, like the thing that parents don't love. Yeah, be kids, go play, have chores, like responsibilities are still a thing, right? Like, that's one of the things parents get so caught up in. No, I have to teach them academics. No, make them work. Let them play and make them work.
Yeah.
How about that? Like, that'll actually teach them far more. Get them out working. That's a big part of the reason we left California. I mean, California has California things, and California issues, and we didn't mind leaving that. But there's great humans there too, right? I mean, we had amazing humans there, and we built a sense of normal there too. But we got to come out to a functional farm. There's a lot of work to do, and my kids work a lot. That's a huge part too. Like, they have responsibilities, they have experiences. One daughter rides horses, one's a competitive gymnast. My son does Ninja Warrior, and he's a kickboxer, and it's jujitsu. And so it's like, they've got plenty of things to do and plenty of things to work on. And we have great conversations. We have amazing humans around us. We go do, like, that's what they need for a long time. And then the academia is easy to add in later. Parents are trained to focus on, no, we need academia more often. No, you don't. You need to make your own learning move forward bring them along with you, and you don't have to overthink it. But that simplicity scares the hell out of everybody because it, again, points back to responsibility for me. My kids, and this is hilarious to me too, but like my daughter who's 11, when she was 8 or 9, I remember the conversation. I remember where I'm standing in the kitchen, and I remember her coming up to me and she's like, okay, so I was thinking about this. If the Federal Reserve can just print money anytime they want to print money, why are they taxing everybody so much? Right? I'm like, that's a really good question. Now, why is but that's it. See what you just did right there too. You were like, whoa,
Yeah.
right? But all that is a product of the conversations we have in the household. That's not crazy. It's just we talk about those things, right? And that's a common conversation. So she asked, we had this conversation. I posted some online, and everybody's like, no, that never happens. No, it wouldn't happen if she went to public school. It wouldn't happen if I wasn't having those conversations. If the only conversations my daughter and I had were, okay, what's your homework look like? Do your homework, get to bed, brush your teeth, like the stereotypical what we've been taught how life is supposed to look. That's not how our life looks, man. It's not how our conversations look. It's just not how we roll. That's not anything crazy. That's just literally a product of the conversations at home. And being in education for 2 decades, I have a decent idea of who parents are if I hang around with their kids. Right? Like I have a decent, like they'll come and they'll just be like, hey man, Trump is going to save the world, or like Trump sucks and Trump, it's like, cool, man. You don't have a thought on that. You're just parenting mom and dad, right? And it's not just about politics. It's about anything in general. Like I have a pretty good idea. While they're working out these ideas, they're working out the ideas they're getting from you. So give them ideas worth working out, and make sure you're working out ideas that are worth working out.
Definitely.
So good. Hey, I heard this quote, and it was good. I was actually reading a book on this, but I love your topic, how it relates to Apogee, and then just how it relates to the home life as well with your kids. But notice citizen has the right to be amateur in the matter of physical training. What a disgrace it is for a man to grow old without ever seeing the beauty and strength of which his body is capable, by Socrates.
Yep. Love that. Yeah, I love that quote, man. So the physical part of things. So I am on, like most things, I think I am on both sides of an extreme, and I think the beauty is understanding the tension in between the two extremes, being able to go to both extremes, being able to see where somebody is and pulling them towards the other extreme. So the two extremes on our side, physical education matters so dang much. Physical fitness, health and fitness matters so much. It is a factory setting for humans. We talk a lot about the mental health crisis, right? The quote unquote mental health. We forget that the physical health is the precursor to mental health. Health's a byproduct, right? It's a byproduct for our kids. Yes, they need to be physically healthy. And this is where I lose a lot of people, and people get upset about this. And I'm okay with people disagreeing with this, but I think we bombard their system right away. It's like the doctors are immediately, you're in a hospital and you have the baby, and it's like, if we don't jab this heavy metal into them right now, they're going to die. Like, that is like right away. And again, vaccinate, don't vaccinate, I don't care. But think, because everybody is telling you at every turn, oh, I've got to do this, or your child is going to stop it. Stop it. The factory settings of a human are there pretty dang dialed in. They're pretty solid. So let's keep that going. I think sunlight's an important thing. I think movement is an important thing. I think eating the right foods is an important thing. I think all those things. And gosh, man, for better or for worse, my kids don't get sick. I don't get sick. That's more important to me. If I'm 44, I still have a 6-pack. That's great. That's great. Awesome. I like it better that I work 7 days a week and I've got the energy and mental acuity to do that and still pour into my family, and I don't get sick. For years, was 200 flights on an airplane, going from one time zone to another, and speak in California, then go speak in New York, and then come back and speak in Washington, then go speak in Florida, and then go, that's hard on the body. And I still didn't get sick. That to me is more important. Health matters, period. And so we need to make sure that is as dialed in as we can intentionally be with our kids. That matters. And then the mental health ends up being a byproduct of that. So them seeing what their body's capable of matters. The other extreme that I don't subscribe to, or that I subscribe partially to, one of the most popular things right now, especially in the, the male space. And again, we've got dads and men, we've got hundreds of men that we have in our community too. One of the most popular things, and some of my friends are guys that perpetuate this, is get a six pack and your whole life is brilliant. Everything is good. Life is good. Okay. It does. Yes. If you're getting healthy, it helps. Also, some of those guys saying that, I also know your wives and I know your kids and I know you're full of shit. So there's that too, right? So like, don't pretend that health physically all of a sudden means you're a millionaire with an amazing marriage and your kids dote over you, because I know that's not true. There's work to be done there too. So those are the two extremes. Ultimately, to say, yeah, man, your health matters. It always has. It always will. That's one of those meta skills that everybody needs to understand. That'll always matter. Your health will always matter.
So there's 18 abs in this conversation, is what we're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah, man, I mean, it's so true. The physical health and how it's so important for mental health. My kids, again, they're 3, but like this guy knows them. They're just energy level is through the roof. But when I let them outside and they run and they get sunlight and they get sweaty and they they literally fall on the ground. Papa, I'm tired. Can I take a nap? I'm like, nap time. Let's go. It's like they self-regulate at that point. And so it's like when they're inside on a screen, like, hey, I let them watch a show every now and then. But it's like when they do that, they are different kids, right? Then they're this weird, like wired little gremlin. I'm like, dude, we're going outside and you need to get out and move a little bit. Yeah.
Get out and move. And man, again, slowly over time, schooling, has trained us to believe that, especially you got some, young boys, they're 5 years old and they're squirrely, man, and they want to get out and run. They want to get out and move. And they've got some, 52-year-old, 30-year vet teaching. She's tired. She's done. She doesn't want to do it anymore. She's like, sit down. I have something boring to lecture you on. And they're like, oh, I can't really, I'm trying, but I can't. And she's like, your kid has a method.
Methamphetamine, right.
Yeah, he needs meth. What the and parents
got it. That was me as a kid. Like I was this like bad kid. It's like, no, dude, I just like did not care what you're talking about.
Didn't care. And hey, by the way, as you get older, all you do is learn to like pretend to get better at care. And right? You still don't a lot of times. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Man. This has been awesome. This has been such a good conversation. We definitely, I agree with you. We all align very much in the same way. And I think we'd have some awesome conversations again. We want to respect your time too. And, maybe we do another episode sometime with you, dial in a little bit more, but just wanted to kind of let you tell our audience where they can learn more about what you're doing, find you online, maybe, Instagram, all the stuff. So
thanks, man. I'm on pretty much anything at just my name, at Matt Beaudreau, but check out Apogee program on IG. Check out apogeestrong.com. That's really where to go to see. There's a little documentary we got there. We got a TV show that looks like it's going to be kicking off here soon. We'll connect to that. The foundations, should be able to find it through that. The campus maps, find it through that. Men's program, like everything should be there on that site, man. So that's where to go.
Awesome. And we're going to link all of that in the show notes as well. We have a really great kind of person who helps us do all that stuff. So we'll highlight it. One last question, man. And this is the name of our show is Full Fueled. So we live a full fueled life. What does that mean to you?
To me, it's optimization. I mean, that's really what our entire program, our entire approach is about. It's kind of like what I mentioned right there. Like, hey man, if you got your health and fitness dialed in and you got your 6-pack abs and that's awesome, man. I love that for you. That's fantastic. You got your morning routines and your cold plunges and you're cool. And if your wife thinks you suck, you suck. So get that part dialed in too, right? So to me, it's taking all those areas of life that actually matter and getting as close to perfect as possible. My friend Mike Glover said something to me one time, and that's become the mantra for what we do. It's like perfection is not possible, but it always remains the standard. And so I think for any area of life that matters, realize perfection isn't possible, but it does remain the standard. So keep pushing towards that.
I love that, man. That was a great answer. Well, thank you so much for coming on, man. We're going to wrap for now. And then we'll definitely, we'll be in touch going forward and hopefully do this again, man.
Thank you both, man.
Appreciate you, brother. Welcome to the Full Fueled Podcast. I'm going to set what the new normal looks like in my life.
You're not limited by your genetics.
You have a superpower that is lifting people up.
So unfortunately, most businesses aren't going to use the highest quality ingredients.
What's your
You're
approach?
jacked.
I know he's jacked. That's why I'm asking him.
I don't think he lifts.
Yeah.
Consistency in everything that we do that really compounds.
The only way we're going to get the word out is with you. Live full fueled, live beyond limits, baby.